Welcome back. Today we're going to go over the variable types, histograms, and boxes and whisker charts through our dataset. For those of you who are not familiar with what kind of dataset this consists of music single albums that sold over 1 million copies in UK from 1940 to 2012. For further information about each of the column variables, please check out the intro video I've made beforehand. Okay, let's go through the variables. First, let's go over the categorical variables in this dataset. Genre. So select the genre columns, hit Analyze, go to the distribution, select genre as the Y columns, and hit OK. And there you have it, there's the distribution. For those of you who are not comfortable with the vertical setting of the distribution, you can always click the red button next to the distribution bar, select Stack, and you'll have a more conventional horizontal distributions. Also, if you think the frequency values of each category look a little bit too cluttered to look, you can always change the number of decimal points you want to show by double-clicking on any of the numbers under the prob bar, select the fixed decimal point, and change the number of decimal points you want to show. I'll go with 2 today, and click OK, and now your frequency values of each categories look much easier to look and analyze. Now these are definitely categorical variables, for the data points are grouped together under non-numeric categories. Because of this, it is perfectly fine to rearrange the order of the bar charts by clicking on the red button next to the genre bar, go to the order by, and select either count descending or count ascending. It'll go the other way. And as you can see, over half of the million-selling single albums are either pop or rock genre, because the combination of the two genre frequencies add up to 0.62 over 1.00. Now, let's look at the boxes and whisker charts and histograms using one of the numeric variables in our datasets. We're going to use the copies sold in millions. So hit Analyze Distribution, select copies sold as the Y columns, hit OK, and there you go, there's the distribution. Now let me make the same adjustments that I made for the genre variables, stacking and fixing decimal points. Okay. Right. First, let's look at the histogram. The cases, or the numbers below the horizontal axis, represents the number of copies sold in millions. The bin, or the interval, is currently at 0.5. The area of each bar represents the relative frequencies of the number of single albums whose sales fall within the respective intervals. The dataset is definitely quantitative and continuous, since it measures the frequencies of a scaled category shown at the horizontal axis, which is the number of million copies sold. You might want a smaller bin size in this histogram, because, looking at the quantiles, you can see that the 75% quartile shows 1.47, which is less than 1.5, meaning that over 75% of the datasets are within the range of 1 and 1.5. So, you might want to break this down in order for the histogram to look more like a distribution. How do you change the bin size? Well, you can double click on the cases, and you can either adjust the increments, which is basically the bin size, or you can adjust the number of minor ticks, which is the number of subintervals you want to be in each of the increment of 0.5. I'm just going to type 1, hit OK, and now the distribution looks much more detailed for us to observe and analyze. Now let's look at the center, the spread, and the shape of the histogram. We're given some information as a default under summary statistics, but these aren't exactly the information that we want to know. So how do you change that? Well, first, let's go to the red arrow button, go to Customize Summary Statistics, and we're given a list of things that we want to select or deselect. For example, we're not familiar with the confidence limits yet, nor standard error mean, so we deselect them. And those that we do want to know are the median, the mode, and the interquartile range, so we select those. Once we're done with all the changes, click OK, and now we're given a set of information that we do want to know. You might want to change the decimal points again as 2. Now we have the information of center and spread of the histogram. The mean is 1.35, standard deviation is 1.48, the number of observation is 123, the median is 1.2, mode is 1.11, and the interquartile range is 0.4. I won't elaborate too much on the shape of the histogram, but it's skewed to the right, and it's definitely not symmetric, which makes sense because it's hard for single album sales to even reach 1 million. Now let's look at the boxes and whiskers chart over the histogram. The left side of the whisker is on the minimum value of the dataset, 1.00. The right side of the whisker, however, is on 2.07, which is not the maximum value of the dataset. As you can see with the 3 dots, there are 3 outliers. Now if you're wondering what kind of songs these outliers are, take a wild guess. I'll give you a hint. Have you guessed it yet? It's Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen! The other 2 songs are Do You Know It's Christmas by Band Aid and Something About the Way You Look Tonight by Elton John. If you look at the datasets here, we can actually locate each of the outliers by pressing Shift and clicking on the 3 dots. If we look at how many copies they've sold, Bohemian Rhapsody sold 2.36 million copies. Do You Know It's Christmas sold 3.69 million copies. And Something About the Way You Look Tonight sold 4.9 million copies. You can actually exclude the 3 data points from the analysis by clicking right at the row and hitting the exclude button. Now let's see the distribution of the copies sold without these 3 outliers. Okay, I'll just stack. And now you can see that the 3 dots has disappeared. Now one thing worth mentioning is that the standard deviation of this distribution without the outliers reads 0.27, which is nearly half the standard deviation of this distribution with the outliers, which was 0.48. This shows how much the standard deviation of a distribution is influenced by its outlier variables. Now that's it for today. Hope you learned a lot from my videos. Any comments or suggestions are welcome, and I'll see you guys in the next video. This is John Shin from Teaching Statistical Thinking, signing out.